Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Apologies for the lack of a full-length podcast today, but I've been crazy busy traveling all over the place, working on some really special projects, which I'll be able to share with you guys very soon, so stay tuned. But yeah, I wanted to jump on this evening because I wanted to talk about one story specifically. Now, I have to admit, I've been a little bit out of the loop today. I've been really busy, really focused in my work that wasn't Arsenal related. And I did take my eye off the ball a little bit this afternoon when it came to Arsenal news. However, when I got home from work and I sat down and put my feet up and decided it was time to relax, I couldn't help but reach for my phone and begin scrolling through the Arsenal Twitter sphere until I got to the point where I read this story. And this story is with regards to Bernd Leno, the Arsenal goalkeeper, who we all knew was heading for the exit doors. We all knew was very likely to head to Fulham, is now edging ever closer to that move. And it's been reported this evening by David Ornstein that the medical is almost complete. And after that, Bernd Leno will sign on the dotted line and join Fulham for the upcoming Premier League season. I knew he was going. I knew that we wouldn't get what we wanted for him. You know, in my opinion, Bernd Leno, based on his ability, based on his level, based on his experience, based on his performances of the past, is at minimum, £15 million goalkeeper. But the problem is that his contract situation is not ideal. You're talking about a goalkeeper whose contract comes to an end at the end of this upcoming season, which means you either get rid of him now, sell him even cheaper in January, or you let him walk away on a free transfer. We know that the player wanted this move. We know that he and his wife are desperate to stay in London. And so Fulham is quite an appealing prospect for Bernd Leno. He's going to be the number one. He's going to play regularly in the Premier League. Doesn't have to leave London. I'm not sure I'd have made that move if I was him, because I'm not sure that Fulham are going to stay in the Premier League. And I think Bernd Leno is way too good to be involved in relegation scraps. I think the reason that he's being moved on and the reason he fell out of favour at Arsenal is nothing to do with his ability as a shot stopper. I think it's just stylistically, he's not the goalkeeper for us. He doesn't fit in to what Mikel Arteta is demanding and asking for from a goalkeeper. He doesn't want the ball at his feet much. He isn't comfortable in those situations. He isn't comfortable being pressed by forwards and being asked to take risks with his distribution. I don't think aerially he's very dominant in the sense of, you know, he's not a goalkeeper that comes out and catches set pieces very frequently. He's not somebody that comes out and takes the pressure off of his defence. And he doesn't want to play almost like a sweeper keeper at certain points as well. So no slight on Bernd Leno's ability as a shot stopper or as a goalkeeper in general, but just stylistically, he doesn't fit with what Arsenal are trying to do. Has he made mistakes in an Arsenal shirt? Absolutely. Has he made howlers? Yeah, there's no question about that. But he's also pulled off some world-class saves during his time at Arsenal that have earned us points. And so you've got to take the good with the bad. You've got to take the rough with the smooth. You know, I've got a lot of respect for Bernd Leno, and I actually think he's conducted himself really well, because he lost the number one shirt. Well, not the shirt number, but he lost the number one position. He could have thrown his toys out the pram. He could have been unprofessional. He could have been a problem player behind the scenes, and he's not been any of that. Not as far as we know anyway. And you know, you have to admire that, because it can't have been easy for Bernd Leno, having been established as the Arsenal number one, to watch somebody like Aaron Ramsdale come in and essentially take it off of him, take the shirt off of him straight away and have the impact that Aaron Ramsdale did. I wish Bernd Leno all the best. I really do. But we have sold him for peanuts. Absolute peanuts. And it is frustrating. You can't pretend that that's not disappointing. When you read what David Ornstein has put out this evening, you cannot pretend that that isn't disappointing. Let me bring you up to speed if you haven't seen it. So according to David Ornstein, Bernd Leno's medical at Fulham is almost complete. The permanent move from Arsenal is worth £3 million plus £1 million based on Premier League appearances, plus £2 million if Fulham stay in the Premier League once, plus £2 million further if they stay in the Premier League twice. That totals up to £8 million if all add-ons are met. Contract will be a 3-year contract and Fulham will have the option to extend it by a further year. Now, we knew that £8 million was around about the figure that we were talking about, but I was under the impression that a lot more of that money was going to be paid up front. I think this might be one of the best bits of business that anyone in the Premier League's done this season in terms of value. To pay £3 million up front for a goalkeeper of Bernd Leno's quality, of Bernd Leno's experience. Fulham have had an absolute blinder here. Fair play, because that is cracking business. Arsenal have been shafted, if you want to use that term here. There's no question about that. But this is what happens. The player wanted to stay in London, doesn't want to leave London. The player wants to be a number one somewhere. He's also got a big salary that whoever takes him on has to take care of. Don't know exactly what that's going to look like at Fulham. Don't know how much of a pay cut he's taken. I'd imagine he's taken some sort of pay cut to go there. But, we keep talking about Arsenal's inability to sell and bring in good value for their players. And this is another prime example of that. And listen, I've got a lot of sympathy for the club. And I've talked at length over the last few summers about this issue. The fact that when you've got players, as Edu alluded to just recently, of a certain age, who are not performing, who are not part of the team, who the world and their dog knows that you want to move on, it becomes difficult to demand top dollar. But sometimes, in order to kind of continue the process, in order to continue the turnover of players that so badly needed to happen at Arsenal, we had to make compromises, and we've had to let people go on the cheap. And in a lot of those instances, I've been very, very sympathetic to Arsenal, very understanding of the predicament that the club find themselves in. But this one is taking the absolute biscuit. To lose Bernd Leno, who probably at this moment in time, you would argue, would be the best backup goalkeeper in the Premier League. He's not the number one, Aaron Ramsdale is. But in terms of quality of number twos, I don't think there is a better number two in the Premier League than Bernd Leno. So, okay, he's not going to play and he wants to move on and all of that. But the point is, you've got to look at it through this lens. We have lost someone who really adds depth and quality to our squad, and someone who I'd trust to come in the absence of Aaron Ramsdale. It means that we have to change the way we play slightly because he's not as comfortable in certain things. But I trust Bernd Leno to come in and fill in for Aaron Ramsdale. And we've lost that, which we're probably always going to. But the other part of me was like, well, when you look at the contract situation, you look at the fact that he can walk away next summer for free, you thought, well, if we can get a bit of money in, then, you just do it. And if that's what the player wants, you just do it. You make it happen. You keep everybody happy. But then I read how much we were getting for him. I genuinely was under the impression that at least 6 of that £8 million was going to be paid up front. Instead, we're only getting £3 million up front. I don't know how many Premier League appearances Bernd Leno needs to make before that first add-on is triggered, where we get the additional £1 million. And as for the extra £2 million if Fulham stay up, I don't think Fulham are going to stay up. So you can say goodbye to that. So there's a chance that we end up with just £4 million for Bernd Leno. Maybe even £3 million if he picks up an injury, which I hope doesn't happen. But this is just a really bad deal on Arsenal's part. Again, they will say that they had no choice. They will say that the circumstances around this deal meant that they couldn't do any more. They will say that, the player's desire to leave, the fact that, he wants to go and play football again, and that Arsenal didn't want to hold him back. They owe that to him, kind of thing. You think of all those factors and you do understand it. But in terms of monetary value, that is one of the worst deals that we've maybe ever done. Genuinely, I thought giving Alexis Sanchez away to get Henrik Mkhitaryan was an awful deal. But this is right up there. Bernd Leno is a £15 million goalkeeper, in my opinion. Okay, the contract situation made it difficult for us. But you've got to get £7-8 million at the very minimum up front for a goalkeeper of this caliber. Can't believe it. Disappointed, have to say. Don't forget to leave a like on the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We've got some full-length podcast content coming up in the next couple of days as we continue our build-up to the big opener on Friday night. Crystal Palace versus Arsenal under the lights at Selhurst Park. We'll also be doing some in-depth episodes reviewing the episodes of the Amazon documentary. really looking forward to that, because I want to share my thoughts on it with you guys, but I also want to get yours back in the comment section. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you turn on the little bell and your notifications are on so that you don't miss any content, and we'll be back with a full-length podcast tomorrow. Until then, take care, and we'll see you soon. Goodbye.